Hi, I'm Joe from Elementary Technology, and today I'm going to be doing a lesson plan using the Smart Notebook software on the Achaemenid Empire, or the First Persian Empire. So just to start with, much like PowerPoint, kind of a little introduction slide, talking about how it's from modern day Iran. It was started by Cyrus the Great and lasted from 550 BC through to 330, where it was conquered by Alexander the Great. And just a few little facts, for example, it contained 44% of the world's population at the time, which was obviously very impressive. And then you can just move on to an activity once you've got the introduction out of the way. This is something to do with the smart software, so you just click the little activities tab here, and you'll see that it gives you lots of different options that you can do. Some sort of quizzes here, match 'em up activities, a game show, fill in the blanks, or what we're doing now, which is a label reveal. So this kind of shows the empire at its greatest extent, and you can just use it to kind of get the kids engaged about really understanding how big it was and stuff. So they can put their hands up or shout out or even come up to the board and just see if they can figure out where all these different modern day countries are that it covered. So for example, tap this: Egypt, parts of Ukraine, the UAE, modern day Turkey, moving into Greece a little bit. So that's a good activity to sort of get them engaged, and so you're not just reading pages of information about how big it was, and you can actually get them interested. Now another thing you can do is embed YouTube videos. So what we've done here is we've embedded a video from 300, the film, just to kind of talk about how the Persians are portrayed in sort of popular media. So I'll just skip through it a bit. You can see that he's very sort of tall, menacing. In the film he comes across as very oppressive. And then what we can do with this is bring in another activity. We'll see that Connor, who's behind the camera, is already in. And this is just sort of an ideas board. So they've watched the clip and now they can type in how they thought it portrayed Xerxes. So there, so he kind of thinks he was very oppressive in the thing. We can move this around if we want to, say this is the right section. Maybe if for some reason he wasn't portrayed as tall, this could be the wrong section. However you want to do it. Okay, so what we've done there is we've kind of used the activity system to kind of get the students engaged and introduce them to the central theme of the lesson, which is kind of the idea that the Persian Empire, or the Achaemenid Empire, is very misunderstood. A lot of our perspective comes from the kind of Greek perspective. The Greeks fought 3 wars against them, all of which they won, so they're often in popular media presented as very sort of tyrannical and oppressive and expansive, whereas in reality they were probably the most progressive of the major ancient civilizations, and also had a lot of very interesting and impressive technological innovations, which the lesson is now going to talk about. So the first one is Qanats, which was a system of kind of underground water channels with wells attached. And that was because obviously it was a primarily Middle Eastern empire, so a lot of very remote and dry places that needed water. So that's the kind of technological solution that they used to solve that problem. There was also the world's first documented postal service, which is obviously within the time period extremely impressive. To get from Sardis to Susa, which was sort of one end to the other more or less, it would take a normal traveller 90 days, but a Persian postman could do it in 9. It was supported by an impressive network of roads which connected all of the kind of local satrapy areas to the 2 capitals of the empire. So this bit talks a little bit about taxations and coins. They had quite a sort of robust taxation and monetary system, which was quite new to the period. Okay, so just to demonstrate some of the coins, we're using the Aver M17-13M visualizer just to get up a little printout of the coins we have. We didn't have any 4th century BC Achaemenid coins lying around, but you could also use this for any sort of lesson. Say if you had a biology lesson, some little mini beast things, or scientific models. It's very sort of versatile, and it means that obviously all the kids can see the teacher interacting with the handout, which allows a much better sort of student to teacher connection regarding sort of handout things. So obviously your very simple features, zoom in, zoom out. You can annotate it, so if we wanted to say he has a bow, we can do that. If we don't want that anymore though, we can rub it out, or if we want to just clear, say, everything off the board, we can hit the clear button. There's different shapes that we can use to highlight things. So if we want to highlight his head, a little circle there. And then we can also do something similar with the spotlight tool, which again just really sort of does a similar thing but really keeps the focus on specific areas, like say his head, his horse, his spear, whatever you want to focus on. Or we can use this, so if we only want to reveal say one coin at a time, and then off of that they maybe have to guess what would be on the other coin sort of thematically, you can do that. It obviously works vertically as well. Now to sort of move back to the rest of the lesson plan, we'll just move on to the final sort of technological thing, which is the administration system. This was extremely developed for the time. It used a mix of sort of local and central power with sort of local governors called satraps, but they were to some extent responsible to central secretaries who were appointed by the King of Kings. And it was so successful that it remained way after the empire fell, through Alexander's empire, through the Seleucid empire, through the Parthians, the Sassanids and the Islamic empires that took over the region. So then just to go over all that again, we've got another activity. This one is a poll on what you think the most important of those was, just again to get the students sort of engaged in the subject matter. So I'll just reset the activity because we were doing it earlier a bit. So Connor's in and we'll start it, and the questions will be sent to his phone or his iPad or school computer, any device with an internet connection. And we only have one student with us at the moment, which is Connor, but obviously there will be lots of different kind of poll answers. You could see what the kids thought. I guess Connor thought the quannots were the most important. So then we've used that to kind of break apart the lesson, and now we're into sort of the second sort of thematic area of it, which is the more kind of social aspects, talking about how they were quite tolerant for their day. Like we said earlier, often thought of as oppressors, but they were relatively extremely tolerant to the time. When Cyrus the Great established the empire, he kept his promises to treat his allies as equals, and even treated the people that he conquered, the Medes, as equals. And he also freed the sort of oppressed Jewish population of Babylon when he conquered Babylon, and allowed them to return home, and even reconstructed a new temple for them after their old one was sacked by the Babylonians. Sort of moving on to women's rights, I mean, obviously this was the ancient world, it wasn't a feminist paradise, but again, sort of speaking relatively to the time, it was actually quite good on it. They had a lot more freedom than most places in the time period, and archaeological records show women receiving equal pay to men as skilled labourers, and there were many female landowners who controlled large workforces. And there was also a sort of proto-maternity pay system called the Rights of Offspring, which was a ration given by the government to new mothers. And then finally, just talking about religion. For most of its existence, it was a Zoroastrian empire. They believed in Ahura Mazda as their god and Zoroaster as the prophet. The religion has been linked to have big influences on Islam and Christianity, and a focus on kind of the duality between things like good and evil, light and dark, provided Zoroastrians with a real kind of focus on doing good, because it related so much to evil, which was obviously something that was the bad side of the duality between the two. But despite the fact they were Zoroastrian, they didn't really try to force it on anyone. They were very tolerant. We talked before about how they treated the Jewish population with respect. This was the same for all of the subjects in terms of religion. There was freedom of religion in the empire. And then just to end the lesson and kind of recap everything that was learned, we're just using a quiz activity, which I'll start up. And all the questions will be on the students' devices, but if you want to see them, they are there. And we'll go back to the overview, and Connor will do his best. Alright, Connor's finished, so we can end the quiz. Obviously, like I said before, this would be with the whole classroom of students, so it would look a little bit different, but you can see that he answered correctly for the first question. Obviously, he answered correctly again there, but if you had more students, some might have put B, some might have put C, hopefully more would have put A, the correct answer. So, you can just sort of go through it, answer the questions, help people out that got it wrong, maybe address why they were confused. So thanks for your time, and if you have any inquiries, then you can always contact us at the touchscreen shop or give us a call. Thank you for your time.